Two aspects of location. There's two parts to it. They both begin with an
Macro
M.
and micro.
Macro and micro. So do you see that we've got to get the customer to perceive value, that the better the location, more than likely we spend more money for the land. More than likely. Which means the home prices are going to be higher than maybe somebody that's farther out, or the yards might be smaller. So that's we have to keep that in mind, that unless we build the value of the... So we're going to start crafting answers using some or all of these benefits in the planned dialogue. So we're going to take the benefit of why we did what we did. And the answers you're going to write are going to be first written to be read, I'm sorry, to be as they're to be said, not read. In other words, you're going to craft your answers in a saying style, not a reading style. You're going to craft them as if you... Now here is my kind of rule for an answer to objection, the way we judge them. Page 3, this observation. Edmundo, would you read it for us? The one that says the answer should be.
The answer should be understandable and believable.
Right, and what's it say then?
When available and where appropriate.
Yes. The true test of the answers you're going to craft is it understandable? In other words, it's got to be easily understood, and it's got to be believable. And that's why the use of third-party testimonials, whether it's a previous buyer or some other expert, sometimes will help us. I want to give both of you now is a little bit of homework to do to get ready for our next video conference, which Schultz is going to get with you to schedule the next two. The next one on this and the 6-step process. So who's going to take, for the moment, Lance's place to write down the assignment and then get working on it? Who's going to take Lance's place for the moment?
I can let it out.
And that is who?
Joe.
Edmundo?
Joe Gata.
Oh, Joe. Okay, let's applaud Joe. Let's applaud Joe for Joe and Edward. Here's what I want you to do. Each of you get a blank sheet of paper. Each of you get a blank sheet of paper. And what you're going to do, I'm going to do one of these with you, maybe two. I'm going to do one or two of these with you. You need to do this. You need to do what I'm going to do now with at least one or two examples. You need to do it with everybody. So what I need to have, Jimmy read one. I'm going to have Belinda read one. But this is what you're going to do. You're going to do this with each of your own teams. So Jimmy, please read now. Everybody else have your list out. Everybody else have your list of 10 readily available. Do y'all have it available?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Jimmy, and here's what you're going to, now, Edmundo, you're going to do this in your next meeting, or Lance will in your next meeting. Edward, you're going to do this same thing with everybody. You're going to start with somebody and go around the room. So, Jimmy, what's the first thing on your list of 10?
We are just looking right now.
Good. Okay, you're going to write that down, Edmundo. You're going to write, as a matter of fact, if everybody else wants to write it down, you can. Edmundo, you're going to write down that one as objection number 1. Now my question is, does anybody else in Laredo or RGB have that same objection or something similar to it? Please raise your hands. Go to Belinda, but this would be whoever is second where you are. Whoever, I'm going to get Jonathan involved too, whoever's second. Belinda, what do you have as first on your objections list?
Rooms are too small.
Good. Does anybody else, by a show of hands, have that one? Good. Cross it off. Back to person number 3, which, person number 1. Jimmy, what's the next one you have on your list?
The rooms are too small.
Good. We said cross that off your list. Now we're going back to Jimmy, but if I were just doing this with one, I'd go, we do Jimmy's list in its entirety. So Jimmy, what is your next one that is not the same thing?
Our credit isn't good enough.
Good. How many of the rest of you have that on your list?
Yeah.
Cross it off. What's your next one, Belinda?
Don't have total down payment.
Good. Does anybody else have that on your list? Cross it off. Does everybody see what we're doing here? We're culling the list. Because now let's presume we finished Belinda's list. Who's going to be next? So just somebody volunteer to be next.
Janie, just inform of everything.
Janie, now do you have anything on your list that Jimmy and Belinda did not mention? Do you have anything left on your list that Jimmy and Belinda did not mention? What is it?
Okay, well, first, the community began to look like a ghetto community. I had that.
That's good enough.
Not-
Does anybody else have that? Does anybody else have that? Or close to that? Anybody else have that or close to that? Good. Cross it off your list. Edward and Edmundo in Sitting In for Land, what we're saying is you start with one person, and we started, Jimmy, start with one person, they read their entire list. And make sure that they're not saying the same core objection 2-3 different ways. Because in effect, Jimmy, you had really 9 objections on your list, didn't you?
Yes, yes.
Okay, good. Then we say, does anybody else have anything else? Cross it off, or something like it. Then we go to the next person. You're going to go around until you go around to the rest of the room and nobody has what? Nobody has any left. That's your master list. Now, the next exercise you're going to do with the master list, page 4 of this book, your next exercise, and I want to ask Edward and Edmundo how much time, because you got to schedule time to do this, because you have to do it as a group. You have to do this as a group. You're going to take that master list that's created, and you're going to put it into a word. You're going to put it on this top 10 objection list. You're going to put it on this exact form. Now the work begins, because what you're going to do, and the quickest way to do this, the quickest way is as a group. As a group. And it'll probably take you 2 or 3 meetings of about 45 minutes to an hour to do this. So now the first thing you're going to do is you're going to say, this objection is whatever we said it is on the list. Now you're going to say possible additional ways the same objection could be stated. So let's go back to yours, Jimmy. We agreed is those two are the same thing, right?
Yes, yes.
Okay, so which one are we going to make the objection number 1? Which one of those two? Because they're both the same thing. They're just said different ways. So we're going to put in objection number 1 as much. Give me.
Yeah, we're just thinking right now.
Good. That's going to be objection number 1. Now the question is, and we're going to do this as a group. You're going to do this as a group. Okay. What are some other ways that could be said by they could say this, that, or the other thing, but it essentially means the same thing. And Joel, you would say what? The idea is this. What I want you to see is that they could say, we just started looking. You're the first place we visited. We just want to take a look around. Aren't all of those things saying the same essential thing?
Yeah.
Yes,
Going to give you another one. Section we wrote down is the bedrooms are too small. How else could customers say that where it means the same thing?
my furniture won't fit in here.
Why is this important? Because when you craft your answer, you're going to see that this answer is going to work for 3 or 4 different ways people can say it. Does this make sense to everybody?
Yeah.
The next thing you're going to do is you're going to now say, what are the customer's reasons? Remember we said empathize? What could be a possible reason why a customer might be raising this objection? And the normal one is just a misperception or their frame of reference. What I'm asking you to do now is pretend you're a buyer. This is the best way to do it. And if I were a buyer, why would I think the bedrooms are too small? Because if I probably think that, other people would think it too. Why would I probably say you're too far out? Well, because when we were driving here for the last mile, I didn't see anything. That's only to get into a frame of reference of why maybe, what might be their motivation. Now, this next part's important. The builder's reasons and the benefits. I'm looking for at least 3, 1 or 2 is enough. Expensive, right, the land is less expensive, therefore we can give you either what? Better value, correct?
Better value. Or a larger home.
Or could we build a home that's greater than 52% of $300,000 and still make our profit?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay, so what I want you to think through, and everybody comes up with their ideas, and come up with that on every single one of them. The only one is like the just started looking, that there's no reason for the builder to be involved. It's only on the things where it's about value. So you're going to come up with at least 1, maybe 2, with benefits, because we're going to now what we do, next thing you do, and some of you started doing this, but I want you to do it as a group. The next thing you do is we're going to do a lead-in. Don't worry about the lead-in for right now. We'll deal with the lead-in later. Then the next thing you're going to do is craft your answer. People, Edmundo in Laredo?
You said 8.
8, is that 8 plus Lance?
Yeah, 8 plus that.
Okay, then what we'll do there is 4 groups of 2. 4 groups of 2 people. And what are we going to have the groups do, Edward? You assign each group of 2 one of these objections. You assign the next group of 2 one of these objections. The next group of 2, objection number 3. The next group of 2, objection number 4. And if you run out of groups, you go back to group 1. See, if there's 2 people working together on one objection, 2 people working together on another one, you're going to get them done faster. Now, the object of those 2 people working together is to craft what you think is the best answer using some of the benefit. And because of this, the land is less expensive, blah, blah, blah. And I want the 2 of you together come up with what you think is the best answer, putting it to the test of understandable and believable. Does everybody understand that? So now what you do, Edward and Edmundo, what you do is in a meeting, and it might take 2, might take 1 just to call the list and come up with the top 10, then another meeting where you're going to break into the groups of 2. And each 2 is going to figure out the other reasons why, and what the customer's reasons are, and craft the answer. It's done much faster. Then you take what that is written out, convert it to a Word document, a document in Word, which now becomes the first draft. You then have another meeting, and you pass out that, everybody gets a copy of the 10 first drafts. So your third meeting is going to be, everybody gets a copy of the draft that each of the groups of 2 did. Is everybody with me so far?
Yes.
Then you're going to have a meeting with everybody to go through all 10 and say, now, looking at this first one, this is what the first draft was. Does anybody have an idea? Can it be made better? And sometimes 1 word or 2 words make it better. Maybe it doesn't. So why are we doing this? Because we want all of you to have input at some level.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so now, Edward, give me a time frame, and Edmundo, you speak for Lance or the team. By what date could you have those 3 steps? First one is calling the list of 10, probably in 1 meeting. The next one is the groups of 2. Then we're going to get together with you in a video conference to go through, now, how do we use these answers? But more importantly, I'm going to give you a couple of other little things with the answers to do. Let's call them add-ons. It's like putting an interesting, we're going to put a pair of shutters on the front door, on the front window. So, Edward and Ernesto, can you, Armando and Edward, can you get together or with Lance and come up with 3 target dates for that?
Yes, sir.
And could you maybe do that by Monday before the end of the day, so you can send it to Schultz? So once I know what the 3 target dates are, we can then schedule the next video conference.
Yes, sir. We'll do that.
Okay. Well, I want to thank you all for your time today, but